All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network and our fine family of broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers. Worldwide toll-free, 800-610-7035 is our phone number. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and our main website is www.xzoneradiotv.com. I have two guests this hour, X Zone Nation. We're going to be speaking with Diandra Brand, who is an intuitive metaphysical healer. She is certified in an extensive number of alternative healing modalities and has integrated these with her clairvoyant abilities to create a highly developed intuitive metaphysical practice. Via communication with the angelic realm and higher self, she is able to focus on her clients' concerns and channel guidance for their highest good. Also joining me this hour is Dr. Idelle Brand, who is a holistic dentist, multifaceted integrated healer, and teacher of diverse complementary healing modalities. She is a fellow of the Academy of General Dentistry, a fellow of the Institute of Natural Dentistry, and a certified nutritional consultant. She is also extensively trained in the field of energy medicine, including hypnosis, Reiki, NLP, EFT, and sound therapy. For more information on these two ladies, visit their website at www.thebrandwellnesscenter.com. That's www.thebrandwellnesscenter.com. And Diandra and Idelle, welcome to the X Zone.
Well, thank you for having us.
It's my great pleasure. My great pleasure. What started each one of you on this quest to helping people in the alternative way?
Well, it all started when I had Lyme disease, and I had it for many, many years. I had chronic Lyme disease, and the conventional medical field left me as incurable.
Oh, gosh.
And after being on many years of disability, I did manage to get over the Lyme disease, and I'm probably healthier now than I was ever before I even had the Lyme disease. I was able to cure all the symptoms that I had with it, neuropathy, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, I mean, you name it, brain fog. I had everything wrong with me, and they just said it was incurable. Too bad. Take some more medicine, and that's it. So by getting over that, most of it, I got over it with energy medicine, and that's how I got on that path. And by getting into energy medicine, it created a whole new paradigm of healing for myself and for my patients. And Diandra, who I should also mention is also my daughter, she's a highly sensitive person, and she never really remembered me being well because I was sick since she was a young child. And all of a sudden, Mom was a new person, and Mom was healthy, and she wanted to learn what I had learned. So I started taking her to these alternative healing classes, and that's how she developed her ability as a clairvoyant and an intuitive.
I have to ask you, what is holistic dentistry?
Holistic dentistry is basically conventional dentistry, but better because we're more aware of how everything that goes into your mouth affects the rest of your body.
Gotcha.
And when you're aware of that, you will put different things in your mouth that are more biocompatible with the rest of you. Like you won't use mercury silver fillings. That's like everyone knows about that. You will avoid fluoride, things like that, and certain metals because they're very toxic to the body.
And Diandra, did you realize way back when you were a little girl that you were a gifted intuitive?
No, I didn't have any of those kind of abilities when I was little. I was sensitive, emotionally sensitive, in the sense of when I went to school and the teacher yelled at another student, I would cry about it. Or when adults spoke to me, they always said I spoke like a 30-year-old or something. So I had a wisdominess about me. But my abilities as an intuitive didn't really come through until like 15, 16, after my mom started bringing me to these different holistic classes.
Ladies, you and I have to take our first commercial break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Exo Nation, two lovely guests this hour, Diandra Brand and Idelle Brand. And their website is www.thebrandwellnesscenter.com. That's www.thebrandwellnesscenter.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget our petition online, StopEbolaPetition.com. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. My guests tonight are Diandra Brand and Idelle Brand. Together, they've written a book entitled Enlightened Indigo Child. Their website is www.thebrandwellnesscenter.com. That's www.thebrandwellnesscenter.com. Tell me about your book. What was your inspiration for writing Enlightened Indigo Child?
The inspiration came through Diandra because we were looking for information about indigo children, the children with these high sensitivities that are being mislabeled as learning disabled or other things like attention deficit disorder, or just, not mentally right. And we were looking for answers, and then we found out about indigo children, probably when she was about 15, when these abilities started. And all the books we found were not good books. They were terrible books. They said all these horrible things about these children that would make you, be really worried about your kid. Because they basically said that your kid was a problem kid, and they had to be handled. One book calls them a new breed of person, implying that they're almost like an animal. And that's a best-selling book about indigo children. So, and we also found that most of the books written about these kids were written by experts in the field, and I use that word experts very loosely. And these people who were experts really had no personal experience raising an indigo child, but they would, question them, these kids who were labeled as problem children, and get their answers, and then, give back what they thought about it. But the books basically said these kids had to be medicated for life.
Oh, come on.
They had to be institutionalized. There was something wrong with them. They weren't normal, if you will. And that's a terrible thing to do to a child, to put a label on them.
It's an awful thing to do to an adult as well, and yet our society keeps on doing that.
Yes, they do, just like when they labeled me incurable.
Exactly.
That's not a very happy prognosis when you're thinking about your whole life in front of you and you're trying to raise your kids and, make a life for yourself. So we were looking for other solutions, and being that we were very much into the energy aspects of healing, we seem to find them because, we've taken many holistic courses, and Diandra was able to channel in information from these other realms to give us guidance. And basically, what she channeled in, they said that we needed to write this book because there is no book out there that's like it. All the other books are very, very dismal, and they're horror stories.
I agree with you 100%. I've had the chance to read a number of those books, and I agree with you totally. And I'm glad to see that you and your daughter, that both of you ladies have taken up the quest to do this book. I'm sure you're going to be helping a lot of people. But for our listeners who may be for the first time tuning in and hearing the word indigo child, can you explain what an indigo child is?
Yeah, an indigo child basically refers to the children that, and adults, it doesn't have to be a kid, that have been born in the last 20 to 30 years, that have high sensitivities, usually emotional and physical, to the environment. And these children may also have some extraordinary innate gifts in music, art, academia, or even psychic ability. It's almost like they have an enriched sensory perception. It's like a new twist on ESP. It's enriched, not extra. It explains the phenomena of why so many of our kids are being diagnosed with learning disabilities, autism, ADHD, ADD, and other mental and physical illnesses. And these kids are just so much more sensitive to the toxins and, in the environment, like the food, the preservatives, pesticides, heavy metals, and the vaccines, EMFs from computers, which is always a biggie. And they just need to be detoxed and be given a more supportive, holistic environment, and they'll be fine. The word indigo actually was created by a woman named Nancy Tapp, who was a synesthete. And for your listeners, a synesthete is somebody also who has an enriched sensory perception where they can actually, say, hear a smell or color or something like that. They feel it on a different level. And she was able to see these kids coming in as having an indigo life force color. And that's what sort of defines the indigo. Besides these attributes that we talk about, high sensitivities, if you were able to see their life force color, it would be indigo. It's not an aura, just so your listeners are aware of that. An aura can change depending whether you're happy or sad. The color always changes. But a life force color is a constant, and that is an indigo for an indigo person.
Are there any estimates on how many indigo children there are presently walking the face of this planet?
I would say probably more than half of the kids walking around are indigo. And, I mean, a good way to sort of figure that out, in at least the United States, is look at all the kids that are being medicated and labeled. And not to say all of them are indigo, but I'd say the bulk of them probably are.
So why are some children indigo and others aren't?
Well, that's a good question. Why are some people born with an innate ability to, create beautiful music? Or they can sit at a piano and they can just do it. Or some kids have innate abilities in math. It's just something you're born with. But I think physical realms, they would say it's probably just a raising in the consciousness on the planet. And these kids are coming in to wake up the parents and the other people who are running things, if you will. And we need to be aware that these kids need special attention and a more nurturing environment. We can't keep going the way we're going and expect everyone to be well, adult or child. We have to get back to things that are more holistic and nurturing. And I think that's why they're coming in, to just wake up humanity to a new paradigm of what is.
All right, so how are these indigo
in its frequency and is ascending?
How are these children affecting our day-to-day life?
I think they're affecting our day-to-day life through the school systems, because the schools are spending a lot of time diagnosing a kid who's a troublemaker, if you will. They're affecting the medical fields, who are just love to give out the drugs. And they're becoming a mainstream thing to deal with, because it's all in the news about children with all these labels on them, whether it's autism or learning disabilities or other things similar. So the parents are being, giving their attention to it now, and then hopefully the school system will, so they can work with these kids to get them more balanced and working in fullness of who they are, and not just medicating them and dumbing them down, if you will, or sedating them.
Well, the medical community is now saying that a lot of the problems that we're having, that children are having these days, is basically based upon the lack of a proper diet. And to me, that makes sense. So how do we know whether a child is just being deprived of proper diet to actually whether a child is an indigo child or not?
Well, I think most people in America are being deprived of a proper diet. When you consider how many people are eating fast food, which is really not even food, as you can read in the papers, the hamburgers aren't even really hamburgers.
It's a chemical swill.
A mix of other things that have a lot of chemicals put into them and extra aromas added to make them tasty. But, it's the bad diet that's not providing good nutrition for whoever eats it. And, of course, they're going to be diagnosed with a problem. Your brain can't work right if it's not nourished.
But once again, my question is, how do we know whether it's the diet or whether it's because the child is an indigo child? How do we differentiate the two? I don't know.
I don't think you have to differentiate the two. I think with any child, you need to give them a proper diet. So giving them the title of indigo child is just a way of saying that this kid is highly sensitive to their environment, whether it's food or EMFs or whatever. I don't think one really has anything to do with the other, because diet is important for everybody, indigo and not.
All right, but I what I'm trying to get at is what would an indigo child have to offer that a child who isn't an indigo child doesn't have to offer? What's the difference?
So I guess you're really asking about what are the attributes of an indigo? Well, what defines that, if we can define it in a concrete way? So in our book, we do describe that. They're more heart-centered when young. They care about others more than they care about themselves. They're wise beyond their years. A lot of them don't want to be here around Earth. They have insights that they shouldn't really have a clue about, like their dead grandfather they've never met before, and they just know stuff about it. They have an inner knowing. They have maybe imaginary friends, see angels, deceased people. They talk to their pets like they would talk to humans. They tend to hang out with nature and pets more than people. They crave nature. They might have night terrors or food allergies.
I think, the bottom line is the indigo children are here to show how we're all connected, and we need to remember that, and also how we're connected to our own planet, the planet of Earth, and respect that, and to all living things that are on the planet, whether it's your pets or your animals or your trees or the oceans. That's why they're here, because when we start respecting nature, and we start getting more involved with nature, these children become much healthier.
Is it possible that we're using the children, whether they're indigo children or not, as a catalyst or as a tool for our own purposes?
I don't think so. Absolutely not.
Because
I don't use my daughter as a tool for anything. She's her own person. She's highly empowered. She's highly accomplished. She's accomplished in the metaphysical and other realms, as well as on the 3D earthly plane. She's got a master's degree in acupuncture. She's highly accomplished, and I don't use her for making my life better.
So are you saying your daughter's an indigo child?
Absolutely. She's an indigo child. She's highly sensitive to everything, and she's highly gifted with psychic and intuitive abilities. Absolutely.
All right, stand by. We've got to take our break here for the news. We'll be back on the other side. This is the X Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to contact us through any of our social media sites, one simple address, X Zone Radio TV. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is Elizabeth Joyce with Stargazing, week of September 29th through October 5th, 2014, for the X Zone. September 29th is a high-energy, highly motivated day when the moon conjuncts Mars in Sagittarius. You can get 3 times as much done in a third of the time. This week is a mixed bag as legalities and social networking had the spotlight. On Monday, Venus moves into one of her 2 favorite signs, Libra, until October 23rd. With 2 eclipses and Mercury retrograde coming up, this gentle sharing energy is coming just at the right time. October begins on Wednesday and is going to be a busy month as Mercury retrogrades from the 4th through the 25th, and we have another blood full moon and 2 eclipses. This week is also yours as Jupiter makes a grand fiery trine with the moon and Mars. So burn through those obstacles in front of you, bring in your good, and then rest and retire, offsetting any quarrels. Your super special someone may have a gift for you this week, or if yearning for a partner, you could meet someone new. As Mercury retrogrades on Saturday the 4th, be as pleasant as you are efficient and capable. Good vibes could vibrate for months to come from what you do now. You need to set straight something important or merely something annoying as offensive before Friday if possible. Everyone will thank you for doing that. This week breathes a new life into some financial matters, and if you're owed money, it could materialize now. On the weekend, a first-time guest could bring something unexpectedly wonderful or say exactly the right thing and unwittingly solve a problem for you, so pay attention. You could meet a lot of fascinating people and make many new friends as the leaves begin to turn and fall. You will also take up a creative new interest or hobby. Treasure those sentimental personal activities, routines, and possessions. Maybe photograph a perfect rose in your garden. No one ever knows when disruption may arrive and upset the status quo. There could be an announcement of some kind of new technology, or we could witness whatever it is capable of doing somewhere in the world. We are on high alert this weekend, the 4th through the 7th. Be sure to say some prayers for world peace. We will need each and every one of them come next week.
For more information about Elizabeth Joyce, or if you'd like to contact Elizabeth for a one-on-one private consultation, visit www.new-visions.com. That's www.new-visions.com. Exonation, we're talking about indigo children this hour with Diandra and Idelle Brand. They're the authors of Enlightened Indigo Child. Their website is www.thebrandwellnesscenter.com. Before we went to the commercial break, ladies, you were giving me the attributes of an indigo child, and as I was listening, it sounded as if an indigo child meets the attributes of a child who was born and raised prior to the technological explosion of the 70s and 80s. You know, we were talking about insight, talking to pets, talking to angels, night terrors, food allergies. I can relate that to my children and to my cousins and even my grandchildren. So help me to understand the concept of indigo children and why the New Age realm or the New Age way of thinking is putting so much emphasis on the indigo children when, to some people, including myself, it seems like they're just normal children.
Well, no, they are normal children. I never said they weren't.
So what's so special?
They're highly sensitive, and that's the difference. Because these highly sensitive children get boxed in and labeled, and then they get medicated. And we don't want our highly sensitive children to have that done to them. I did not come up with the term indigo child.
I understand that. I understand that. But you wrote a book entitled Enlightened Indigo Child. So as an interviewer, I'm asking you to validate what you've written. That's all.
Okay, and that's what I'm doing. So indigo children understand that there's a higher divineness to how we're all connected. Do your children understand that there's a higher divineness of how we're all connected? And do your grandchildren understand it? Or do they just come home, watch TV, and do other things?
They understand that. They understand that because that's how they were brought up. But we don't allow our children just to come home watch TV. We believe in letting them play outside to get their exercise. We watch what we feed them. We're very hands-on family members.
And your children, I assume, are very gifted as well, correct?
I don't understand.
Do they have any innate abilities in math or music or art?
Well, they've all gone through university. They all hold very good jobs. They're very, they're like their mom and myself, very people orientated. We search for the truth in everything we do. Honor and truth are above all, and family.
Of course it is.
On
and perhaps
top of that,
you're an Indigo child, and so are your children and grandchildren, and that's wonderful. And it's good to see that you guys are fully developed and connected and grounded and medication-free, and you haven't been labeled with some sort of mental or emotional disability. I think that's wonderful.
But is that
for many children
because
out there that they're not so lucky? They don't get it.
And
that's why the book was written, because so many of them are not as lucky as your children are or my children have been.
I believe
in a family where we get it.
I believe it depends on the upraising the child gets. This is where in my opinion is where it starts and where it stops. It's the lack of parenting in this society that, in my opinion, is to blame for whatever you want to call it, ADHD or whatever, and in some cases, indigo child. I think that society has been putting too much pressure on parents to do too much, that the parents are actually starting to stray away from their responsibilities as parents. I understand that people need to work. They need to bring in sometimes 2 incomes now to make ends meet. Some parents have to work more than one job. I understand that, and I appreciate that. But I also understand and appreciate the fact that children need to be children. They need to be taken care of. They need proper diets. They need discipline. And in today's society, I think parents want to be friends instead of parents, and that doesn't work.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
So where do we go with this, with the indigo children? How do we progress?
By educating the parents and the school system to not be so quick to put a label on anybody, and to understand that there's a reason why the kid is being hyperactive, or perhaps being disruptive or tuning out, and becoming autistic, if you will.
How many indigo children did you ladies interview for your book?
It's a personal story. We didn't interview anybody. We just lived our story. It's a personal journey and how we overcame any of the challenges that we had, whether it was high sensitivity to other people or high sensitivity to food, or just being frowned upon by the conventional school system, that your child has a problem.
So basically, this is an autobiography.
That's exactly what it is. I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to read the book. I think it would have helped tremendous in the clarity of what we're trying to put out there.
So why would you call it Enlightened Indigo Child instead of our biography?
Because it's meant to enlighten the children and the parents that they can be triumphant and they don't have to fall into the category of having a problem and being labeled with a disability.
But if you haven't interviewed other children who are believed to be indigo children, how do you know that your statements actually apply to anyone else but yourself?
We are basing it on our own personal challenges that we've had, and the books that we've read, all the books that we've read about indigo children who get labeled as such, the books all have terrible endings for most of these kids, where they're medicated for life or worse. And we didn't want that to happen. We wanted to show anyone who thinks they are an indigo or believes they are an indigo or has been labeled as such, that is not your destiny. There are ways to go beyond that and to triumph. You just have to work a little bit more diligently and be aware of ways that you can be more empowered and successful, not just in the 3D earthly plane, but also if you're a clairvoyant or an intuitive where you can delve into other realms to understand not that you don't have to get lost up there and lose your ability to function here, because we have ways that are very helpful to help these people who have these challenges where they can't function here, and then they tune out and they become, quote-unquote, bipolar or psychotic, or they become depressed for whatever reason, and that's not a good long-term prognosis for anybody, child or adult.
My question again is, how do you know what worked for you will work for others?
Because people have written back to me since they've read the book, and they have done these things, and they've worked. That's how I know. Diandra sees a good handful of these kinds of children in her practice as an intuitive metaphysical healer, and she's helped them and the parents to apply these practices, and it's worked. We have real-life hands-on experience with people, and we were the guinea pigs for it ourselves, and it works. That's how we know.
What is a metaphysical intuitive?
For me, that means I can see other energies. I can talk to angels, ascended masters, goddesses, people that passed on, go read into the Akashic records, find out why a soul is here, all that stuff.
And how does this help people?
It gives clarity. Sometimes people are a little stuck on being here in the earthly plane. They get a little stuck of why they're here, or they have questions about deceased relatives, and just gives them some clarity and closure of what's going on in their life and their family.
So you ladies have been doing your metaphysical and holistic dentistry for how long as a team?
Well, I'm a holistic dentist. I've been a dentist for over 30 years, and I've been a holistic dentist for more than 10 of those years, because that's how I found my way back to my own health when conventional medicine could not help me. It was through the energy field of healing my own energy field that my body was able to come back and come back to health.
Gotcha.
And Diandra has been an intuitive metaphysical healer since the age of 15, and so that's about 10 years she's been doing this. And she's quite good at what she does. You know, you may not believe in this stuff, but it works, because everything is energy.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me about the Brand Wellness Center.
Sure. The Brand Wellness Center is where I practice and where Diandra practices. We integrate many different health modalities in there. We teach energy healing classes like Reiki. Diandra does her energy work. I'm also, I help people with nutrition to help support their body to come back to health, especially if they've been poisoned by toxic heavy metals, which are found in food supply, vaccines, and as well as in some of the silver mercury fillings. And that's it, where we're just helping people to heal, because people are looking for answers, and the conventional world of medicine, unfortunately, doesn't have these answers, and they just tell these people, there's something wrong with you mentally. Go see a psychiatrist, because there's nothing wrong with you.
Is it possible that you have a bit of a tainted look towards the medical community because they said they couldn't cure you?
That's a silly question.
No?
I understand where you're coming from. That is such a silly question. No, I don't have a tainted view at all, because I am trained in the conventional, and I have a very open mind. I don't box myself into one type of healing. Homeopathy, as you know, has been around for several hundred years, and it's still around because it works. People still take herbs because it works. You know, conventional medicine with drugs has been around maybe a century at the most. And, you know, something is just a matter of time before they find when one medicine will give you a side effect and give you a different illness, because the drug itself has its own, harmful properties. So, you know, it's nice to connect to nature and Mother Earth, if you will, and, get yourself healthy. And there is a science for everything I say, and if you need me to explain it, I'd be more than happy to do that, because I am a very science-oriented person, totally.
How do you meld science with the fringes?
example that you and your listeners will get. There's an inherent frequency on the planet. It's called the Schumann resonance. You ever hear of it, Rob?
Yep.
Okay, well, the Schumann resonance was always around 7.9 hertz, cycles per second. And within the last 10 to 15 years, that frequency has almost doubled. Mm-hmm. Now, the problem with that is that most people don't connect with the earth. They don't connect with nature. They live in boxes. They travel in boxes, their cars. They work in boxes in their offices. So they don't connect with earth. Now, if you don't connect with the planet that you live on, what do you think of the chances are of you being healthy on this planet? If the planet now is at 15 hertz and you're still stuck at 7.9 because you don't go out and touch the grass or go and take for a swim in the ocean, it's good. Your chances are pretty good of being out of sync with the planet you live on is pretty good, and you're going to develop all kinds of health problems, whether it's anxiety or it's cancers or it's high blood pressure because you're stressed out because you're not fully grounded. So by connecting to Earth, there's something called earthing.
Ladies, we've got hello, ladies. We have to take a commercial break. Please stand by. Mm-hmm. www.thebrandwellnesscenter.com is the website, and we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about indigo children this hour. Diandra and Idelle are the authors of Enlightened Indigo Child. Their website is www.thebrandwellnesscenter.com. Tell me, Idelle, do you have any other children who are indigo child, or indigo children, I should say?
I have a son who's also an indigo child, and he's highly accomplished.
Good. Do you think that indigo children will keep on appearing, or is society going to drown them out?
Gosh, I hope not. I'd like to think they're going to keep coming and keep transcending the planet and the earth and the people on it to a higher level of consciousness. I hope not. I mean, their voice is getting louder. So hopefully it should be better.
What achievements have been accomplished that affect our everyday life by indigo children?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. What major accomplishments has any indigo child accomplished? Like I'm talking, has any indigo child won a major award, a Nobel Peace Prize, risen to any rank of distinction within our society?
Every child or any child can do that. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter whether they're indigo or not. If they're gifted and they're fully grounded and they know what their passion is, they can do it. So I don't want to say that I know an indigo child who's blah, blah, blah. My children are highly accomplished, and I'm very proud of both of them, and they're both indigo children. And I'm sure that many of the accomplished people in this world are indigos and may not even know it or may not speak about it.
Ladies, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. Take care of yourselves, and I wish you success with your book. For some reason, a book that isn't researched should be called a biography. And if I'm going to write a book on indigo children, the one thing I'd want to do is I'd want to get as much information about others who are indigo children and do a bit of a case study on it. Because writing a biography on a child that you have who's an indigo child, in my opinion, is a very one-sided story. Hey, I'm a dad. I'm very proud of my children, too. I'm very proud of my grandchildren. I'm proud of my aunts, my uncles, my nieces, my nephews. I'm proud of my community. I'm just a proud guy. And I believe that no matter what you want to call it, if you want to call the child a gifted child, an indigo child, a rainbow child, It all depends on how they're brought up at home. It depends on the love they get from their parents. It's about the love they get from their community. When it comes to indigo children, I hate to say it, Exo Nation, I don't buy the story one bit. I believe that everyone is born with the same opportunities. Well, no, let me rephrase that. Everyone who is born is like a blank hard drive. It's we, society, and parents who program. And as we all know, some programs work excellently, and other programs leave a lot to be desired. That's it for tonight, Exo Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. So until tomorrow night, if there's somebody you can help by giving them some food, a couple of cents, maybe some clothing, however you can help, please do, because we are our brother's keeper. And if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So until tomorrow night, from everyone here at the X Zone Radio Show to everyone out there in the X Zone Nation, good night, take care, and always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Good night, everyone.